anyone can just look at the numbers themselves
Yeah.
later on. Ang point natin kasi dito is we're trying to interpret this data and put it into a bigger political context. Now, let's look at the other important issue, which is political alignments. Nagkakaroon ba ng rallying effect itong Duterte arrest? It looks like, in terms of public opinion, is not having the kind of effect that perhaps the Duterte camp was hoping for. But it looks like in terms of consolidation of base, the numbers are suggesting we'll later on also have Okta survey among others. But what is your survey showing in terms of consolidation of base?
You know that's a fantastic question kasi for several months now, I think the Duterte camp has been trying to rally their supporters to go against the president. But we've seen that hindi pala ganun ka-intense yung support ng mga Duterte supporters doon sa Duterte idea.
I mean, it's like soft support?
Pwedeng, the soft support. Kasi pwedeng umakyat sila sa Senado, sa ranks dun sa Senado. Pwedeng mag-disagree sila dun sa impeachment. But they won't necessarily go out in the streets and support and rally against President Marcos. So kahit medyo bumaba yung performance review and performance assessment ni President Marcos, they're not fully dissatisfied kay President Marcos. Meron pa rin sigurong naniniwala na kahit papaano na he could be okay, no, as president.
So hindi deal breaker sa kanila yan, na triggered kami, ganun,
So hindi pa siya umabot dun sa level of intensity na lalabas sila that they will call for
people power, basically.
People power, si Marcos stepping down and things like that, or even a coup d'etat and things like that, no? A change of regime change or a change of government. So yun yung kailangan natin i-unpack. The level of intensity.
So what are those numbers saying?
So umaakyat sa Senate, umaakyat yung mga Duterte-aligned candidates. No?
By how much? 5 points, 10 points?
Si Senator Bongo, who is a re-electionist, at least in our survey, is now number 2. But
statistically tied almost, right?
Statistically tied
for number 1.
For number 1 with Erwin Tulfo. Before kasi hindi siya nag-play sa amin ng ganoon kataas, pero ngayon number 2 na siya. Umakyat din si Senator Bato.
Wow, that's fair. He's number 3.
Number 3 na. No?
Oh,
so,
wow.
umakyat ng
That's
5
really
places.
high.
No? And then...
how many points? 5 points.
5 points, so 38%.
7 points Bongo, 5 points Bato. That's interesting.
Yes. Oo. So, but we also saw na may staying power pa rin yung mga alyansa bets, no? So, Erwin Tulfo is part of the alyansa slate. He's still number 1. Consistent siya dyan. Merong mga umakyat, katulad ni Ping Lacson, umakyat din si Abby Binay, umakyat din ng konti. And then, si Camille Villar, ngayon, pasok na siya sa top 12 sa amin. But previously,
same din sa Okta,
WR Numero Research, correct. Oo. But there are others also who went down. No? Sila Pia Cayetano, for example, Lito Lapid, Tito Soto.
Tito Soto is much
Bong
lower.
Revilla went down.
But, pasok si Bam.
Pasok si Bam and
pasok din si Kiko. Yeah.
And actually, WR Numero reported on this even as early as February. So we were the first, I think, firm to confirm that they're part of the Magic 12. So this is a hopeful case. I think pag nagsusolidify yung pro-Marcos, nakakakuha din sila ng konting boto dahil yung mga pro-Marcos medyo anti-Duterte. So yung mga medyo nakakakuha sila ng boto dyan, I feel, no? And I think they should definitely bank on parang medyo strategic alliance, no?
But they're down by 1 point.
And there's a percentage. Pero umakyat sila sa rank kasi may mga bumaba rin.
So basically in net effect, they still did better than others kaya umakyat sila.
But
nevertheless, they have a decline. I mean, so basically mga DDS lang umakyat.
Umakyat yung DDS.
Sila lang umakyat.
Significant yung
7 points, 5 points, which tracks with the other surveys also.
The explanation there, I think, Richard, no? Kasi maybe recency effect, yung daming publicity surrounding the ICC, surrounding the
They're always in the news.
They're always in the news.
Exposure nila, awareness nila.
So it remains to be seen whether they could really, be consistent in the next 4 or 5 weeks, no?
And of course, I mean, the open secret is, at the end of the day, when you are with the administration slate, whether officially and more importantly, unofficially, if there's there's a new secret list, there's going to be a bump in the final. This is not only just a snapshot of like the race at this point. This is not going to capture that machine effect na makikita natin in the
Yes.
final race.
Oo. So,
even if Bong or Bato may be top 2, top 3 here,
Yeah.
the final number will more likely favor some of the Alianza candidates or non-declared aligned people. Yeah.
Yung bottom 6 talagang medyo masikip yung laban
Yeah.
dyan, and it's going to be very intense. And you're right, Richard, kasi meron tayong market votes and meron din tayo yung command votes. No?
Yeah.
So yung machinery and things that are not necessarily about just communications and strong, compelling messages.
Last point, and this is important. Let's talk about tactical voting here, right? It's controversial, but if you are for, let's say, Sara impeachment, because this Senate race is really about also Sara, right? Because the composition of the next Senate will determine if the trial will happen to begin with, kasi mukhang this is the Senate that needs 6 months to figure out what forthwith means. But it's also about whether there'll be a judicious assessment of the preponderance of evidence that many see against the Vice President. Kaya nga na-impeach na siya ng Congress overwhelmingly, right? If you are, let's say, supporter of Sara being held accountable, should you tactically vote for a combination of Alianza and combination of, let's say, BAM or Kiko or something like that? And vice versa. If you're a opposition, genuine opposition, should you be open to supporting also, again, this is not a moral judgment, it's a tactical discussion, right?
I understand.
Let's say, for instance, in your survey, I'm not sure if Camille Villar or Ben Tulfo, regardless of whatever is their designation, independent, whatever, I'm not sure those are the people who are excited about impeaching Sara or even about the trial. But I can say more confidently that if you're Bam Aquino, you'll at least look at the evidence, and probably with Kiko, you'll go for it. And if you're Tito Soto, Abby Binay, Ping Lacson, especially, I think I'm more confident that they'll also be along similar lines. Do you think that people, voters, because you have 12 options, not 2 options, not 3 options, not 4 options, 12 options. Do you think that voters should engage in tactical voting and look at the permutations accordingly?
Yeah, so if you are a Marcos supporter and you want the Vice President impeached, or at least there's a trial, and if you're a purist, pero yung numbers hindi nag-a-add up kung purely lang na wala si Bam and Kiko. So baka it would benefit itong mga Marcos supporters to also vote for Bam Aquino and Kiko Pangilinan for the Senate, na para baka matuloy yung impeachment trial after the election. So yes, so may
and
wisdom
vice versa
dyan,
too,
definitely.
right? I mean, if you're supporter of Bam and Kiko, you want as many as the Team Liwanag, whatever, to get in, but you might also want to make sure that some of the other candidates
because
there,
they have a common enemy, so
yun
baka
nga
dapat magsanib puwersa sila. I mean, if you are
common
thinking about the
cause, I would
practicality,
say common cause.
yeah, common cause.
Masyadong Game of Thrones.
Common cause.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, of course, for yung tama ka nga, yung practical, on the ground campaigning, bakit dapat mas maging flexible in that sense? Oo.
Tactical voting.
Tactical voting.
Now, you guys are also officially the ANC. You're also working together. So just for people to know that is this the first year you're doing the senators, or did you do also the previous Senate?
So we've been doing surveys since 2019.
Yes, of course, yes. Pero yung Senate, kasi I want to ask it because ang hirap daw i-predict yung Senate races. Like, I don't think anyone got the number ones right in recent history.
I mean, we also did the 2022, yes.
How was your experience from the last survey you did and the final version? Like Robin Hood Padilla, did he really come out number one in yours?
We've been pretty consistent naman. Of course, the gold standard is the face-to-face surveys. No? So
Right.
in terms of our methodology, we do, in terms of proportionality to the Philippine population, syempre tinatanong lagi yung methodology, we always refer to the 2020 census, Filipino census, published by the Philippine Statistics Authority. Before 2020, there was earlier versions, 2016, 2015. No? So we always refer to that to make sure that our statistical interventions are really proportioned to the Filipino population. So we're very, very cognizant of correct methodologies. And in fact, this survey, we have a plus minus 2% margin of error. And we have almost a 2,000 respondent for this survey. And so yeah, we're pretty confident that at least for this a snapshot of the last 2 weeks, no, our survey reflects the sentiments of the Filipinos.
And how do you see your surveys juxtaposed with the other surveys interfacing? I mean, not too much difference, right? Also, Bongo, Erwin are number one. I don't see Amy Marcos there. Did she also drop big time in yours?
Yes. So Amy Marcos is not part of our top 12. Yeah.
Where is she? Like top 20? Like, do you have a number of the next list? Yeah.
So
okay,
she
can we
is
look at that? Okay, so number Manny
15 to
Pacquiao.
17.
Okay, that's also the same. Manny Pacquiao also had a decrease. Actually, ang taas ng decrease ni Manny Pacquiao sa lahat ng service. Is it because parang wala siya sa... He's just not in the...
Siguro, nakampante siya kasi presidential candidate siya and he's riding on his popularity. And he's not really... But we'll see. He could still win and, he could still increase in the next few weeks.
Interesting. So, again, we also see here, Philip Salvador is the other dark horse, di ba? Jimmy Bondoc also had an increase. Basically, even Kiboloy.
But he's in the bottom.
But Philip Salvador is an interesting case, right? He's now higher than Amy Marcos and Willie Revillame in your survey. That's interesting.
Quite dramatic surge actually in a lot of the mga
Is it because of the budots I did? Just mga nagsabi na parang lalo mo pinasinan. Just kidding. He's doing very well. I think Philip Salvador is the dark. Everyone asks me who's the darkest. I would say Philip Salvador. You know, he might do a Robin Hood Padilla, maybe not number one, but he could be very competitive.
Yeah. So the trend is upward. If they continue, then he could actually be part of the top 12.
All right, I won't ask more questions kasi baka mapahamak kayo, but I'll have Senator. I'll have Secretary Ronald Llamas to break down some of this issue. We're also gonna have Professor Ranjit Rai from Octa naman to also break their numbers. I see a lot of overlaps and similarities. Of course, no two surveys will be exactly the same. I think Pulse Asia and SWS also came out recently. What do you think about?
We're quite consistent na pasok na si Bam Aquino and Kiko Pangilinan.
But
and there's also an increase in the Duterte aligned candidates. So consistent yun across all the surveys.
Okay, so that means in fairness, di ba?
So the race is getting really interesting.
Interesting, and the surveys are actually triangulating each other.
Correct.
So yung mga, hindi, bayaran nito na ganito kasi ganito. Guys, grow up. I mean, there's no, OPEC monopoly. They will coordinate their quota. It doesn't work that way. You're competitions. You're competing against each other. You have no interest in coordinating numbers or anything like that. On that note, thank you very much, Dr. Garcia, for that very fascinating, very compact discussion. And my best wishes also to your colleague Cleve, because I know you're carrying the day for Cleve as he recovers. We'll also try to have Professor Cleve Arguelles with us soon. Maybe tomorrow on Zoom if ever not in person to further discuss some of these issues. Kasi ikaw yung more respectable version, siya yung medyo more bardugulan. No, I'm just kidding. No, but he's also the geeky guy. We'll do vibe check with him soon. Thank you so much, Robin. And talk to you soon. Maraming salamat, guys. Thank you very much, guys, again for joining us dito. Ito fresh off the talagang oven na talaga. Yung data, our guest just finished his press briefing kanina. I'm sure ang dami mga tanong sa kanya. Again, nothing surprising because it really very much echoes what we were seeing in all authoritative surveys. So please lang stop with that. Bayad yan, ganyan. Let's grow up. Alright? Huwag tayo mag-Google Analytics. Alright? Although, may silbi naman ang Google Analytics. I mean, nakita nyo yung HDI, napaka well-researched because of me last month, yung Human Development Index. But kidding aside, thank you very much, guys. And as I said, may pag-asa talaga. Di ba? Both Bam and Kiko, ang laki ng chance sila. And if my secret last-minute realignments, baka mas interesting pa yung mga mangyayari. But without spilling more beans, I'll leave those beans to Sir Ronald and our other guests. Catch us again on our next FYI Voter Education Series. Salamat, God bless, and God bless the Philippines.